further. So there is no crime wave here. At the same time, there is a shortage of police officers in D.C. They are 800 short of their full complement. They've been offering $25,000 bonuses and having a hard time getting people to sign up because in the post-pandemic environment, D.C. has become a harder city to police. And those of us who live and work here recognize that if there isn't more crime, there's certainly more disorder on the streets. There's more homelessness. There are places that people don't want to go. That's in part what Trump is reacting to here. But federal law enforcement officers can't really do much about that issue. They can't arrest, or they're going to find it difficult to have a predicate to arrest homeless people on the streets of D.C. And so it remains to be seen what impact all of this will have on them.
So, Ken, you talk about D.C.'s crime being down when you compare year to year. President Trump has made these outlandish claims saying D.C. is one of the most dangerous cities in the world, not just in the U.S., but the world. That's clearly not accurate. Beyond D.C. comparing numbers to itself, can you set the record straight for us? How does D.C. compare to other American cities?
Yeah, that is totally false, Anna. You can Google this, actually. There are lots of different ways to measure the most dangerous cities in the United States. But if you just look at per capita violent crime, the numbers of violent crime based on a percentage of the population, D.C. is not even in the top 25. It's not even close. And it's generally smaller and medium-sized cities that are the most dangerous. Now, look, some neighborhoods in D.C., if you stack them up as a city next to Memphis or some of these other very dangerous cities, the crime rates there are higher than in other parts. But generally, D.C. and other major American cities are not the most dangerous cities. Nonetheless, there are awful crimes that happen here. There's a youth carjacking wave and epidemic that is happening here that D.C. authorities are trying to deal with. And there is criticism about how D.C., particularly how the D.C. law enforcement and court system, whether they've been tough enough on violent offenders, whether they are holding juveniles over to adult court to the extent that they should be. The Trump-appointed U.S. attorney here is arguing that youthful offenders are getting a free ride and they're not being vigorously prosecuted. That's all a debate that we can have. But the idea that D.C. is in the midst of a crime wave or that it's one of the most dangerous cities in the country, that's just false, Anna.
And let's listen to how the mayor is addressing this crime issue. Here's what she said on our air this weekend.
There are very specific things in our law that would allow the president to have more control over our police department. None of those conditions exist in our city right now. As I mentioned, we are not experiencing a spike in crime. In fact, we're watching our crime numbers go down.
Chief, what will you be watching for in the president's expected announcement and any actions the president decides to take?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've got to understand that the Metropolitan Police Department works very closely with its federal partners and has routinely for many, many years. So bringing on Park Police and other federal agencies, this has been done many times before, and it's been done at the local level, not at the president's direction. So we'll see what he's going to do that's different that's what's being done already. As has been mentioned, the National Guard being brought in. The National Guard is great. I brought them into the Capitol a number of times. They were absolutely fantastic. But they will tell you they are not cops. They are not law enforcement. In fact, there's very few guardsmen that have any law enforcement or police training. But they are a force multiplier, and they can assist in protecting buildings and doing other support activities. They're terrific. Again, it'll be interesting to see how they're deployed and what their responsibilities are.
So, Chief, you said this has been done before where federal law enforcement assists local law enforcement in D.C. specifically. But under what circumstances? Do those circumstances currently exist?
They can. I mean, there has been an epidemic of carjackings over the last couple of years, although they are down from a couple of years ago. But there was a task force that was formed, carjacking task force, and it was the FBI, it was Secret Service, it was Park Police, a number of agencies along with the Metropolitan Police Department to address this specific issue. So these are the kind of things that happen routinely. I can tell you that the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as the Capitol Police, Park Police, have individuals, have officers and investigators on federal task forces to help with ongoing crime issues. So this is what is done routinely. If the president is talking about a surge of personnel, a surge of resources, that's great. That's helpful. However, you can't do a surge for a week or a month and make a sustained difference. You've got this, fighting crime is something that has to be sustained over a long period of time. You can't do something for a week and